Okay, that's that's a literal like God of the gaps kind of
No,
mentality there.
wrong definition,
That's
buddy.
exactly what that is.
No, it's
Because it's
not.
like, oh, you mean to tell me your ass hasn't been all the way down to the very bottom of the Marianas Trench? You haven't explored the jungles of the Amazon? You don't know if God doesn't exist. Have you lived on Mars? Fuck you. You don't know if alien God exists.
Now, he goes off on a gross tangent here, so uh,
As with most of my videos, I do go off on gross tangents, mostly about dick. What is up, heathens? How you guys doing today? But today we are looking at a Shock of God video. He actually made a response to me, and no, before you ask, it's not one of the videos that I made about him, because if you don't remember, I made a couple of videos about him a while back. I think it was at the end of last year. No, this one is about my 10 questions for atheists, and apparently he has a few things that he disagrees with. Who would have thought? And also, I can bash God. God is just some kind of thought-up, made-up thing. It's an idea. I can bash ideas all I want to. It's not like I'm sitting here calling you a coward because you won't get on cam. I'm not going to bash you for it. I'm not bashing you. I'm bashing the idea.
and this is a big reason why atheists are now the least trusted group within society. So,
Yeah. Hey, honey. I exemplify why atheists are not trusted in the worldwide community. Did you know that? You did?
Yeah.
Whoa. Why didn't you tell me? Oh, come on. I gotta be unique. He said so.
now have you ever have you ever noticed atheists never make videos bashing Satan? Could they be showing their bias, whose side they're on? I can't find not even one video on YouTube of atheists bashing Satan, but they sure spend their time a lot bashing God.
Well, I mean, for one thing, Satanists aren't dickheads like a lot of Christians are. Number two, I don't see a lot of Satanists out there making videos where they spout, dumbass shit like all the time, like you do. So yeah, I mean, it may seem like that, but that's a lot like, complaining about how a traffic cop is always catching fucking speeders all the time. It's because he's looking for them. I'm not saying it's my job to like bash God or something like that, but I do feel compelled to respond to dumbass fuckery when it's presented.
Can it be any more obvious? I think Arnold Schwarzenegger said it best. Who's your daddy? We know who their father is. So let's.
When did Arnold Schwarzenegger say that? Like, is that a legit quote from Arnold? Oh, that is one fucking obscure reference. It's a reference to Kindergarten Cop. No, but he's saying, like, just like Arnold says, who's your daddy? And it's supposed to be like, Satan is my daddy, I guess. I don't consider Satan my daddy there, Shock.
Why do you care if people worship him?
Okay, good question. I'll answer this while I dance. Let's see. Why do I care if you believe in God? I don't.
Now, you ready for this?
Goddamn, could you let me finish? It's like, here, listen to the Christian and then listen to the atheist. You're not letting me fucking talk.
He's going to say, he says he doesn't care, but then he's going to say he does care. I'm not making this up. You're going to hear him say it because it interferes with food stamps. I swear to you, he says this.
I swear to you that I don't say food stamps or that I care because of food stamps or anything. That is nothing that I said. And if you would let it fucking play, you would see.
He says because it interferes because the government then passes laws where you can't get free food from the government. And by the way, there's no such thing as free food for the government. You and I, the wonderful, loving people of America, are paying for the food stamps. But he's going to talk about this food stamp program, the atheist guy on the right. Watch this. And he's very upset that someone's going to take away the food.
I really don't give a fuck if you believe in God. I don't. Where I do give a fuck is when, like, a politician says that, oh, we need to reduce SNAP benefits to people because the Bible fucking says that if you don't work, then you don't eat. That's why I give a fuck. Because people, politicians in particular, love to use the Bible in order to justify dumb-ass fucking shit.
No.
All right, before you say stuff, let me specify how that doesn't have anything to do with food stamps or anything like that. That was one example. Like, that's a straw man to say that I bash God or I care about what Christians believe because of food stamps or something like that. Like, that's a straw man argument. What I'm saying is that when politicians use religion in order to pass laws to make other people follow their own religion, that is wrong, and that is when I care. I care what you believe when you're a politician and you try pushing religion through government. Of course I care. There's nothing contradictory or hypocritical about that.
Oh, I'm sorry about the language, but this is just madness. He's saying his reason why he cares that people believe in God is because of food stamps? That someone can cut food stamps? I don't get that.
And also to reference, he doesn't get it because apparently he doesn't keep up with, like, the news. But that was a article that was posted recently, like, I think either that day or the day before. So, I mean, you're only looking like a dumbass here, Shock, because, I mean, that was in the news. There was a news that somebody, a politician, was wanting to reduce SNAP benefits because of something in the Bible. Like, that was directly relevant to what I was talking about. God damn, could you do some fucking research for once? Holy fuck.
This is just weird. But this is the madness of atheism. And he doesn't really answer the question. He's just moving around saying he's upset about how people cut food.
No, I do believe I answered the question. Why do you care what I believe? I don't, unless you try to push that belief on others through the government. Like, that is the answer. I'm sorry that I didn't put it in some kind of boring and lecture-filled way. If that's what you need, fine. I do not care what you think, Shock of God. But the moment you try to push religion through the government via laws or other means, I will give a fuck. Thank you and good night.
Can nothing create something? Now, I told you guys about this last year, 2016. The trend now, because atheists are failing to convince people that atheism is accurate and correct. To this date, this guy here on the top right, he still hasn't proven that atheism is accurate and correct.
I don't have to prove that atheism is accurate and correct. It is not a positive assertion in any kind of way. It's just me rejecting your claim to a deity. That is all atheism is. You do not have to provide any kind of evidence that proves it to be accurate and correct. He's a presuppositional apologist who automatically assumes that God exists, and therefore atheists need to prove that God doesn't exist. That's not how this shit works. Please do better.
But now what they're trying to do, because modern science has vindicated Christianity, do you know that Christian scientists...
Wait, what? Like, how has science vindicated modern Christianity? And also, if you have to say that it's modern Christianity and not just Christianity, doesn't that kind of indicate that maybe your religion changed a little bit in the past? That it's maybe not so objective? I mean, I feel like, am I the only one here? I don't think I'm the only one, am I?
Christian scientists, however, were saying, no, the universe had a beginning. And it is true that the old-fashioned Darwinian type science of that era did show that there was no proof and evidence that the universe had a beginning, but with modern science, ladies and gentlemen, Christians were vindicated, and now everyone knows that the universe had an absolute beginning. So the Christian here in the middle of the screen is asking, how could atheists believe that nothing could create everything? You have madmen, literally mad scientists.
Literally? I mean, no, I think that you're one of those people that loves to use literally and literally the wrong way.
Like Lawrence Krauss going on the debate circuit saying that nothing created everything.
Okay, where Lawrence Krauss differs from Christians in general is that he has evidence and reasoning to back up his claims, whereas you people have a book and you have presuppositional apologetics. So all you say is, oh, God has always existed, you gotta prove me wrong. And yeah, just because science has changed doesn't invalidate the value of science or the idea that science is definitely wrong now. Like, science was wrong in the past, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong now. We're trying to figure out, like, what caused the Big Bang. True, there were scientific theories or whatnot in the past that said that the universe is eternal. That's because we didn't have any evidence to show us otherwise. But once that evidence was introduced, shit changed, and now we have a better picture of our universe and our reality. This just further validates like the value of the scientific process and the scientific process in general as being a way to figure out what reality actually is. And guess what? Science does not vindicate God. We can't test for God. Even your apologetics says that we can't test God, that God exists outside of all of that, and that you just have to believe it on faith. So, no, I mean, science does not vindicate Christianity. If anything, science has opened up a whole lot more plot holes.
Watch how the guy on the right, the atheist, admits that the definition of nothing they use is not the normal definition, but basically a made-up definition of nothing.
That's not at all what I do. I try to correctly define terms. I say that the definition of nothing that they work with is totally different from the actual definition of nothing. I don't try to make up any kind of definition otherwise. I think that like nothing can mean different things in certain situations. So like when you're saying, oh, there's nothing over there, that doesn't mean that there's a vacuum of space in the middle of the goddamn parking lot. Like, but when I say that there's nothing like at the beginning of the universe, that's completely different from the nothing that's in the fucking parking lot right now. Goddamn semantical fucking shit.
Now, did you hear what he just said? He just admitted that, well, their definition of nothing is really energy and a vacuum. That's the complete opposite of nothing. That's something. And that also had to come into existence.
Okay, that's a scientific definition. And when you're discussing, like, what caused the Big Bang or what happened before the Big Bang or the Big Bang in general, you would need to use the scientific definition of nothing. Like, you can't use a different definition of nothing when you're talking in respect to that particular subject. So, still semantical fucking arguments from Shock of God here. And as to his whole, well, all that still needs to come from somewhere, well, I would say that all of that would still need, like, a reason, not necessarily, like, a purpose behind it, but, like, there's a reason. Like, there's a reason why the universe banged or whatever. Like, there's a reason behind all that, or a cause, or something like that. Like, there's a reason why, in a vacuum of space, there still exists a charge. Like, there's a reason why that is. That doesn't mean that that reason why is God. See, that's what apologists, especially presuppositionalists, like to jump to, is they jump all the way over the magic bubble and just say God. Like, they don't provide any kind of evidence to prove that it definitely is God. They just automatically assume that it is God. There are virtual particles that exist that pop in and out of existence. So I don't understand why it's so unbelievable that you know, something can come from nothing when your book, well,
Watch
okay,
this.
Christianity,
He's going to say, how can God create out of nothing?
Think that God literally created something or everything out of nothing. So yeah, I would say that you having a problem with something coming from nothing is a problem for your own faith, not for my science. And dance.
Now, wait a minute. Christians don't say that something came from nothing. We're saying that there's a creator, that everything.
Well, yeah. Well, for one, I mean, you could ask where the creator came from, like where did God come from? But then he would just fall back on the, oh, God's always eternal, which is kind of funny considering scientists of the past said, oh, the universe is eternal. Well, now it's, oh, God is eternal. You're just pushing the goalpost. That's all you're doing. You're moving the goalpost back. You're placing God in an area that can't be defined by science or investigated by science or explained by science or anything. Just, oh, God's always existed. He didn't need to be created. So, okay. But I still don't understand, like, why you immediately jump to God. Like, you have no evidence to show that it actually is God.
Now, wait a minute. Christians don't say that something came from nothing. We're saying that there's a creator, that everything came from him.
And also, I'm saying that you're saying that God, or that everything came out of nothing, regardless of the fact that you say that God used that nothing to create it. There was still nothing in the beginning. At least that's what your book says. And then God created it out of nothing. Of course, this is the same guy who, sent several plagues upon Egypt after hardening the Pharaoh's heart. So that's just a dick move on him, but also proves that, fuck this shit, God can do anything in this magical realm of Narnia.
What the atheist is saying, not to stop his dance party here, but what the atheist is saying is that nothing did it. It is madness in its purest form.
I actually don't say that nothing did it. I say that, we don't know how it happened or whatnot or why it happened or anything like that. But we do know that nothing can create something. I mean, that's regardless of whether or not we know, like, why it happened or how it happened. So I don't understand your point here, because that's not at all what I'm saying.
To say that nothing did it. But this is the tough sell that our sweet, cuddly, huggable atheist friends are trying to sell to the rational world. Unfortunately, the best scientist...
I'm cute and cuddly and huggable. I don't want Shock of God to be all cute, cuddly, and huggable with me, but, I got somebody for that.
Throughout history are not atheists. They're Christians. They're people that believe in reality, that God exists. It's pretty tough to believe that nothing created everything. And I put this to you, what makes more sense? That the universe just popped out of nothing uncaused, or that there was a creator that caused it? Something caused the universe to come into being. Nothing has no power.
Well, actually, if you measure nothing, it does have energy in it, so it could have power. But as far as the question of what makes more sense, something coming out of nothing or something being created by a magical man in the sea of nothingness, I would have to say, considering that there is evidence of virtual particles being created on the fly, and the fact that there's no prior evidence to a God existing ever. We only have prior evidence of all gods being mythical. I would say that the one that is more probable would probably be the one coming out of nothing, not a creator creating it. That's just using a little bit of statistics and logic here. Maybe you could do that yourself.
Nothing is ineffective. Nothing is actually the absence of anything. Don't put gasoline in your car and try driving long distance, and you're going to find that you run out of gas because there's nothing in it.
I would have to say false equivalence here. The nothing that would exist in your gas tank is not the same nothing that exists in a vacuum of space, let alone before the Big Bang happened.
So the atheist is wrong again and again and again. This is proof and evidence that atheism is madness. Let's go to the next question.
If you've never been to the ends of the earth, if you've never been to every planet, if you've never been to every part of the universe, how do you know that God doesn't exist?
Oh, this is brilliant. We're going to let the atheist talk here, and then I'm going to elaborate on it. But the atheist incorrectly says, this is God of the gaps. And we're going to point out the atheist error after this. But the Christian just said, how...
Okay, you pointed out my error before I was even able to talk. And I also love how during this entire fucking thing, you have said, you're going to listen to the atheist, but this is the word-for-word fucking thing that he's going to say. Even if it's not the word-for-word thing, you say what I'm going to say, then let me say it, and then you say it again. I know that I say things a couple times on occasion, but I mean, this is 3 times on every single occasion. I mean, goddamn. Is that nicer, honey?
How can you say that you know that God doesn't exist when you've never even traveled beyond the edge of the universe? You've never, there's parts of the universe that we don't even know about. Very good question. I'm going to elaborate on this after the atheist fails here.
Okay, one, I don't fail because it is God of the gaps. Whether or not you want to admit it, that has no effect on it. It's still God of the gaps. Number 2, I don't say that I know God doesn't exist. This is another thing of his, is that he likes to pigeonhole atheists into the Gnostic atheist section, being that you know those that know God doesn't exist. And I am not in that category. I fully accept the possibility that God could exist. I say that I don't believe that God exists. I don't say that I know God exists. So that's a bit of a straw man here because it's not my position at all. He may not know that, but with presuppositional apologetics, they usually like to lump atheists into one category, being Gnostic atheists. Okay, that's that's a literal, like, God of the gaps kind of mentality there.
Wrong definition.
That's exactly what that is.
No, it's
because
not.
It's like, oh, you mean to tell me your ass hasn't been all the way down to the very bottom of the Marianas Trench? You haven't explored the jungles of the Amazon? You don't know if God doesn't exist. Have you lived on Mars? Fuck you. You don't know if alien God exists.
Now, he goes off on a gross tangent here, so...
As with most of my videos, I do go off on gross tangents, mostly about dick.
Basically, this is a great question. The atheists tend to have this arrogance to them. You probably notice it. Like, because we're using modern science and we're using rational thinking, we're the dumb ones when they're the ones that are the stupid ones. Now,
did you just literally go, no, you're the one that's stupid? Like, I feel like that's what he did. It's like, we're not the dumb ones. You're the dumb ones, you dumb fuck. Oh yeah, the fuck is gross. Don't think about dicks going in vaginas at all. And now everybody's thinking about that. Ah!
This Christian asked, the guy on the left, what he asked was brilliant. When you really think about it, as large as the universe is, and of course we also have the spiritual realm, but if you even just take the universe and you analyze how large the universe is, and you were to ask, let's say the dancing atheist here on the top right, if you were to ask him, what knowledge do you have of the universe?
Okay, one, I want to know what magical closet to Narnia the spiritual realm resides in, because I have to say we need to embark on a expedition out there to really figure out this whole God question. If you know where this particular closet exists, please give me a call. Second of all, like, it doesn't matter how much knowledge I have of the universe. I mean, it's a God of the gaps to say, oh, you don't have all of this knowledge? Well, then you can't say that God doesn't exist. I can say that I don't believe God exists and that there's no evidence that proves he exists. That would be an accurate statement. There isn't any evidence that proves God exists. Me lacking whatever kind of knowledge, like, I don't know how he quantifies the amount of knowledge that is in the universe in order for you to really say how much we have about the universe. Like, we don't fucking know how much information is out there. I mean, I would guess that it's very small. Like, I would hope that it's very small. But, I mean, you can't know that. You seem to act like you know.
Put a number on it. Would you say you have 1% knowledge of what's out there in the universe? I would say that we collectively, all of us here on Earth, we don't even have knowledge of 1% of what's out there in the universe. So when you really think about it, how can this atheist here, the dancing atheist dude, say that he's sure that God doesn't exist? He really can't say that. All the evidence is pointing towards God existing. For example, let me say something to help the dancing atheist out here. When a Christian looks at the...
Well, since I'm no longer the Godless engineer and I am now the dancing atheist, I guess I need to do all my videos dancing. So, let's do this right now. I'm the dancing atheist. I would love to know what kind of scientific evidence you have in order to prove that God exists. Would you dance with me and answer the question, please?
We look at the universe and we look at science and we look at DNA and we look at these things. We ask ourselves, what is the best rational explanation of these things?
Well, hold on. I've got to dance in order to answer. I forgot. Okay, so, no, that's how atheists do it too, because, we can be scientists as well, even if we're amateur scientists. Anybody can be an amateur scientist. I can't think while I'm dancing like that. We as atheists think of like what's the best rational explanation for it. It's just that we come up with two different answers here. And I feel like mine is closer to what you would find in reality, but you have this mystical, spiritual realm that you're factoring in there that's just some sort of magical number that you add to any equation and you end up with the right answer. Like, that that would be God of the gaps. Like, I don't understand. Here, let me dance. Maybe I'll figure it out.
What is the best explanation of design? We wouldn't say randomness. What is the best explanation of DNA, which is a language?
No, hold on. Stop right there. I'm going to quit dancing. DNA is not a language. It's a chemical. Deoxyribonucleic acid. That's what it is. It's a chemical. And yes, this chemical reacts in a way that builds cells in our bodies, and it builds a lot of organic machines, if you will. So, I mean, I get how a lot of Christians like to say that DNA is like some kind of literal language, but it is not. It is literally a chemical where you change certain things, and that could have a lot of different consequences. It could change a whole lot of shit. Or it could change nothing. It could be just junk parts of DNA. It is not a language as like zeros and ones. So I mean, I really, it's a really big pet peeve of mine how I have to know like the depths of theology and like the depths of religion and all that kind of stuff. Like, I have to do my research. I even have to know scientific shit. But yet you can't do the most simplest of fucking research, which would be using fucking Google.
Intelligence creates language. A mind creates language. We would say design. From time to time, I'm going to put a video below here of me riding the motorcycle. And in this video, if you click right below this video here, I'll put the link. In that video, I talk about how if I were to get all the pieces of the motorcycle and just throw them out in a field, and they were all to come together precisely and work together just by randomness, would you believe it? And nobody would believe it. They would say, yeah, right, you're smoking something or taking some type of narcotic if you were to believe that the motorcycle could just come together, by sheer luck and randomness. But
okay, and I never claim anything of the sort. That's a straw man fallacy. It's also a false equivocation. So yeah, I mean, you're fucking blowing shit out your ass at this point.
This is what atheists are trying to push onto a rational society. He believes, the guy on the right believes, that nothing did it.
Oh, actually, I don't know what exactly did it. I mean, that's what I've always said. I don't know what did it or how it came to be or why it happened or anything like that. But, I mean, to suppose that some magical deity in the vast nothingness created everything is a lazy answer without evidence to back it up. And the evidence that we have so far is that all of these deities that exist in the vast nothingness have always been mythological. So it's perfectly rational for me to challenge your assertion that this particular mythological being is the one that's true, correct, and has always existed. All the other ones were fake as fuck.
If you believe that nothing did it, you will stop at no type of madness. You will believe in any...
And the slippery slope. That's a slippery slope argument. Just because you believe, that a god wasn't needed in order to create the universe or for the universe to come into being, that doesn't mean that you will just descend into, anarchy and you will do anything and you will believe anything. Like, that's not what that means. That's a slippery slope argument, and it's just invalid. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video today, and I guess I will see you heathens later. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice.